Good afternoon, everybody. It's RT here with Hxro Labs, episode 41 of Hxro Labs Live. Just going to make sure everything's all tickety-boo in our brand new studio digs. Big shout out to the producer, John, putting this together over the weekend, spicing up our life one GIF at a time. Or in this case, I guess, element on the screen. The Bitcoin breakout today could be a signal of greater things to come, or it could be setting up a beautiful short entry. We're going to dive into that today, make sure that we get a real good handle on what it all means so that we can position ourselves to capture whatever move comes next. And it goes without saying that nothing I do or say on the show should be considered financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. If you're taking financial advice from me, you got bigger problems, bigger fish to fry. I do, however, hope that you are here to learn something new and bring ideas to the table as well. I got a lot of really, good trade ideas that have come. In fact, the one trade I'm in on my futures account right now came from somebody, I think maybe Jonas. If you're here today, give me a big holler in the chat. I am in the SXP long. I believe it was your idea on our stream last week. And you suggested the chart. I fired it up. There was a setup there. So we'll dive into that, take a look at SXP because it's still pretty close to the entry. Let me just adjust this. And Jonesy, good to see you, brother. And Jim, we got Sohail in the crowd. Really nice to see you guys today. And yeah, all kinds of movement happening in the market. So let's get into it. And also the Dixie could be breaking down. In fact, I'm going to go to the Dixie right now because it is sort of the headline of today's show. We'll make sure that I have the right thing up here. Dixie, there we go. So let's fly over to the Dixie. I'm not seeing the live shot on the rendezvous here, John, just so you know on this one. Yeah, okay, perfect. Oh yeah, there it is up there. Okay, perfect. What sorcery is this? Yeah, so Crypto Eye, yeah, we're in the new studio weday. And we're just gonna keep adding stuff to that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So look at the Dixie. Okay, this thing broke out. We got to zoom out to get a little context here. Okay, so this is the 4-hour. This high came in back in March, which, as you can imagine, was right around that huge dump in crypto. So the US dollar shoots up in value. It would be expected, it should be expected that the things you're trading against it drop. So on the big stock market drop, flight to the dollar, right? And the Dixie's really been driving the bus. And the more I look at it, the more I chart it, the more I realize how true that is. So it's actually the first chart that I look at now, basically every day. And I don't think that's always going to hold true. To some extent, for sure. If the dollar is rallying, it'll be risk off and people will rush to the dollar, get out of their stocks, whatever else. However, I think there could be a time when Bitcoin breaks away from that. Maybe the US dollar's doing whatever it wants and Bitcoin, got a mind of its own. I think that's definitely possible. But for right now, and when you're in a chop zone, so there's not a lot, there's not a clear trend in either direction right now, generally on the daily, I guess we should say. There's a lot of uncertainty as you range, right? We're going to range highs. Oh no, we're going to range lows. And it's just a lot of chop. And in that case, I think things like Bitcoin become a lot more sensitive to these other proxies. But make no mistake about it, folks. The Dixie is driving the bus. And last week, coming into the Friday, 15th, 16th, we actually broke out of this downtrend channel, which would spell doom, ultimately, for Bitcoin in the near term. If we were to break out of this channel and potentially get right back up to this resistance where we were right around range lows, September 24th, and if we break that, this is your, if this was going to happen, this is that sort of $9K, $8,300 Bitcoin, $7K Bitcoin, that all lives up here. If the Dixie was to break out that way, the US dollar index. So that's why we're keeping an eye on it. Obviously, it would serve all of us quite well if this would shit the bed right here, break down from this downtrend channel, continue its downtrend, work its way to the midpoint, even come back up here. If this is the kind of price action we're going to see, great news for Bitcoin, great news for crypto as far as increasing our US dollars portfolio, whatever. So this is why I'm keeping an eye on it. Now, the reason presumably. Everyone's always searching for the narrative, right? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? I try to stay away from that. I think it's pretty easy. Sometimes you're like, oh yeah, like Chinese government tweeted out that they're going to buy Bitcoin for their U.S. Treasury. Well, then there's a pump. We could say that's the reason. But for the most part, I'm less. How can I say this? Like I'm less concerned with exactly what narrative drove the price, because I find it hard to project and predict price action based on those things. Because, for example, yesterday, I don't know what news was going to come out today. So once that news comes out, well, the news came out and I've missed the trade, or at least I have to jump on board a little late. Whereas, with TA, you could say there was a nice fail here. And so at about 3 in the morning overnight, as the Dixie broke down, you could expect some bullishness in crypto and Bitcoin. And at the New York Open this morning, that's exactly what we got. So I'd rather chart it. And for now, I think this rally today is likely fueled by this fail on the Dixie. Now, as you can see here on the lower time frames, we've just dropped into this reload zone confluent with this support resistance level. It's kind of angled, so I don't love it as a horizontal, but it's getting some play, and we're just right there right now. And as we get this little bounce on the Dixie, you can actually see, oh, that's Bitcoin dominance. Where's my Bitcoin chart? Boop, 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 doo. There it is. Nope, there it is not. Here it is. So, interesting. Binance futures. Oh, there it is. Okay, I just have to switch to it here. So on this Bitcoin chart, you can see this breakout today. Really nice breakout. I mean, let's just think about this daily price action for now, right? We had the move up, confirmed bullish market structure here. After we made a little high up at the sweet spot of the higher time frame RLZ, we pulled back, tagged the 382. There's your pump chaser zone, like clockwork. Love it. And now we've just continued to new highs. So the big question still is about volume. What are we going to get? I mean, we need to get that stamp of approval, right? A big move in price doesn't mean a whole lot if it's not backed up by supporting volume. So a big spike up in volume here, to me, that would signal move even above 12K, where we get into that sort of 12 to 14K range that Ledger and I talked about last Monday. And I'll pull that up here on the weekly. Here we go. So if I can get zoomed out to the weekly, right? That's, huge volume up into this level. That would be very promising for us as far as moving above and getting up into this range right here. I mean, I think that's what you would want if you are a Bitcoin bull right now. And that would basically be this, flipping this into support and then getting up into that range. And this will be a vacuum. So if we break above there, big if right now, we're in the short RLZ. I'm actually, in a place where I should be thinking about looking for shorts according to my trading plan, or at least hedging out. But, the break above here, this would act likely as a vacuum. In other words, not a whole lot of resistance through here. Probably a big, dirty, 1, 2, or 3 weeks of green candles, possibly all in one. That kind of shit could happen. So this is a huge level. We got to get above it. And so going back to the Dixie, I mean, we're at a very critical spot, right? We're either going to roll over here on Bitcoin and the Dixie breaks out, or we're going to crap out, finally give up these trend channel highs that we've been riding and sort of testing basically since late September, and just give up. And if this happens, that's probably maybe the announcement of some kind of stimulus bill, which Nick is pretty convinced is not going to happen before the election. So that's the election over here. So actually, that's a date I'd like to put on this chart. So you can get a vertical line tool. Where is that? I actually have it up here. The quick tools. Let's go to there. So U.S. election, very important date. Now, I doubt they're going to pass a stimulus bill the day after the election either. But that's something to keep an eye on. Getting a deal done before the election, according to Nick, who I consider his analysis, because he actually reads all that stuff. I'll take that for what it is. So if there's no stimulus bill, because the idea with the stimulus bill is they're talking about printing trillions of dollars, right? That will be a weakening event for the USD. That would be a breakdown event. So we want that if we're bullish on Bitcoin. and if we're struggling to pay our rent and we live in the US, right? we want that stimulus. So, zooming in, really important level here. I think how this resolves, it makes sense to me on purely on a price action basis for us to then bounce up and check that level before an actual fail. And that would look probably, damn, I lost it again. There we go. That would probably look like a pretty standard pullback on Bitcoin if we did that, right? So something like that. So these things are all in the cards. What does the Dixie really mean? Like, what does this move up today mean on Bitcoin on the high time frame? Well, not a whole lot yet, because we don't have the volume to support this being a breakout. And since we broke out of this little pennant to the upside, I've assumed, especially after reclaiming this EQ, that we would be headed up to range highs. It just makes the most sense. Squeezing all of that short money that got in here, myself included, but thankfully with my trading plan, I had stop losses on my short right above these highs. So I got the hell out of that and actually bought my spot longs back around 11,000. And I'm just sitting in those, and we'll see. I'm certainly going to be very cautious as we move up into this short RLZ, because this move up doesn't invalidate my higher time frame bearish thesis from last month. So I'm not sitting here saying like we have to roll over, we're still going down, all that stuff, but I'm not going to suddenly change my tune just because we're rallying into a short RLZ. You see how that works? Often when you get up into these short RLZs, that's where all the bullish fervor comes back into the market. That's where you get all these really bullish charts talking about 14K. And if you zoom in, you can often find, some divergences and some volume that, is lacking. And those are the signals I'll be looking for, because, hey, if we move up here on volume, let's go. Long your longs, I'll be in there. But if we get up to VPVR value high, range high, this 786, and we start squeezing up into there, and as we're already seeing, actually the MACD is starting to slow down here. Not as clear a signal in the RSI. Bearish divergences, falling volume, maybe we roll over on the 4-hour, right? Like this means nothing. This little pullback, that's just normal price action, means nothing. And this volume is actually quite promising today. So I really like that on the 4-hour. So I still expect us to get up into this range high area. It doesn't make sense to me, especially if we were going to go down, to not come up and take this liquidity, possibly even steal that liquidity. In other words, running those stops that are parked out there, no doubt, filling your bags if you're a whale on those liquidations, and then rolling it over if that's your plan, if that's the way they want to take the market. So I'm pretty comfortable right now as far as Bitcoin goes. I think any pullback today is probably for buying in my books. Right down to maybe here would be a nice entry for me, 11.5, if we get something like that for a continuation. And then at range highs is where I'm going to get a lot more conservative, taking some profits on my spot longs because, having some breakout longs in place is possible as well. Like I said, I think there's a vacuum from 12 to 14. I really don't want to sit that candle out if that's going to come in. So I'll have to see. I'll probably maintain my spot exposure and look for some shorts on my futures account. Now, speaking of futures accounts, I want to give a shout out to Linus. I don't know if you're in here today or if you're watching live or you're going to watch a little later. New mic, Jonesy. Did you notice that? No, it's the same mic, but I'm speaking into it a little differently. We played with the settings a little. I hope it sounds good. There's a couple episodes where I've accidentally been on the Mac mic, like my computer mic, the built-in one, while I'm speaking into this, and it's not even activated. So if it sounded like shit once or twice last week, that's probably why. But I am speaking into the good one today, so we'll keep that going. Anyways, God, Jonesy, you threw me off. Just kidding. No stim until 2021, I think. Yeah, Dave Millett thinks probably not a whole lot of stimulation finalization until early 2021, and that makes sense to me. I mean, I'm not a political analyst, but it makes sense to me that it would be slow, steady, and a lot of in-house fighting over exactly what it's going to entail. And who knows? I think, the Senate, the House, they could switch. They could go full Dem. They could go full Republican. Who knows? And that would make a lot of things, a lot is riding on that. And regardless of the election results, I imagine we'll have some aftermath, shall we say. Trump has basically already come out and said that if he loses, he will be fighting it and it'll be a big fraud and he'll ride it out till February 1st or whatever it is. So, yeah, I'm with you on that, Dave. I'm not expecting, I appreciate that, Jones. I'm not expecting too much in the way of new stimulus. And that's okay. I don't think we need that. I think it's a sexy idea. Maybe they'll print $12 trillion and then we can have a Bitcoin rally up to 15K. Like, I love that. But I don't think we need that for a bull. It would just be a nice, easy boost. Now, up into this short RLZ, again, I'll be looking at my futures account. If I take, just say I own 4 Bitcoin, not a real number, but just say I own 4 Bitcoin. I can short 4 Bitcoin on my futures account up around these highs and essentially hedge out my risk. Obviously, if it continues to shoot up, my spot will increase in value. And the hedge that I put on will be underwater by an equal amount. So I'll basically be priced out of that move. But if price does come down and we trend back down, my spot exposure will go down in value, but that hedge will rise in value roughly equal to that minus funding if I'm against funding. So that's sort of my plan with using futures. And if the setup comes in and it's really juicy and it's like, oh, the 4-hour flipped and it bearish market structure, bearish divergence, bear volume, picking up, sell volume, flying in, then I can size up my future short. So it's not only saving the money of protecting my spot exposure, but maybe I'm making some money on the way down too, ideally, if we are going to trend back down. Because right now, the bottom line is Bitcoin is ranging, right? It's been ranging since August 2nd. And we lost range lows. We reclaimed them. It's been a bit of a messy range, but we've been consolidating. And you can see that here on the Binance or the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is what I want to talk about today because it's actually moving up to local highs here. So, this is one to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, altcoins have been decimated since basically here, actually a little bit before there. Basically, this was like the top in the market for altcoins. And that's why we're sort of into this risk off window. And I mean, the day that this flipped to risk off, altcoins had already been pretty hurt. So, sitting back and using this as a weather gauge as an active trader, it didn't give a very good signal for the top as far as, getting me out in max profit. But I didn't wait for this to flip bearish to get out of a lot of my altcoin trades. What I use this for is to really tell me when it's time to get back in, right? Because you're going to see little rallies here and there in alts. But if Bitcoin dominance is still ranging sideways or trending up even, those are not altcoins that I want to buy, right? I want to be sitting in Bitcoin when it's strong and in charge. And I want to be sitting in altcoins when, Bitcoin dominance is tumbling down like it has been all summer. So this is very much meant as a high time frame weather gauge. It's not like a get in, get out signal per se. It more just guides what I'm looking for in the market. So speaking of what I'm looking for, I am in an SXP long on futures. This is not quite the same as me like going and hunting for altcoin exposure because I'm not buying up big bags of spot long, on altcoins trying to catch a big wave. I don't think that's coming. And if it is, I think I'll get a pretty good signal from dominance and I can get in then. Can hunt some setups more aggressively. For example, if we do this, if we break down and have this kind of a squiggly thing, you can see here. I mean, there's moves to be made in dominance coming off, right? Let's just close that up, right? So like on the higher time frames, yeah, we're trending down. We've put a little stop in it here. I think a counter trend rally makes a lot of sense as far as just like the ebb and flow of the market goes. And I don't need to make a big bold prediction on that and then sit out. But for what it's worth, I'm not in alts, as you guys know, for a little while now, for the most part. I've still got some exposure, probably like 12% of my portfolio is in some little shit bags that I've got, and I'm just kind of like parked on and sitting on. But does it seem that strange for us to rally up into this sort of higher time frame downtrend on the dominance up around 64, 65? Because that's honestly, today, if you ask me, I'd say that's what I think is going to happen. That Bitcoin, especially if we break above here, and I'll tell you some of the hints why I'm leaning that way. First of all, Ethereum. Let's see. ETH BTC. You guys know I've been watching this chart and I've been fearful of this down here, this higher time frame on the daily, these gaps. Let me get that color change a bit. Right. So when you get a huge gap like this, it's basically a price gap. And I've been watching it and I will continue to watch it because to me, that's very unhealthy as far as like a chart being ready to move on to new highs. The fact that it sort of left this gap here on the charts makes me uncomfortable. And then you get this kind of price action, which looks a lot like a head and shoulders. Doesn't have to be perfect shoulder, shoulder, head, head, whatever. It's the fact is it's just bearish looking market structure. And these highs that we're getting off ETH BTC are kind of lower with less enthusiasm. Like, where the fuck are the bulls? This is all sell volume dominating this chart. So because of that, I am uncomfortable with the idea of taking large alt positions if I'm trying to accumulate either USD or Bitcoin, especially if I'm trying to accumulate Bitcoin. But we haven't broken down yet. We got this key support, so we've bounced off of it. Not a ton of buy volume. I mean, the bulls kind of stepped in here and took over the show for a bit, and they've lost it. So this is just ranging kind of chop zone. We talked about this last week, but I feel like it's worth reiterating because we've got a little new price action to discuss. A break above here, you can see I've got my alerts, those little orange lines. That's like game on, right? For me, if we break above that, then this whole downtrend reverses, and we're now off to potentially some, northern exposure, some northern exploration up into the highs again, new highs potentially. But until that happens, we're just bouncing along fairly weakly, weekly chart. Bouncing with weakness along this key support area. So today, if you're really into taking long positions and firing off the bull, there's absolutely one setting up here. As we get this like W formation, this nice breakout, we've pulled back down, tagged that sweet spot perfectly. I can hide this so you see what I'm talking about, right down into this RLZ, and then bounced up and kind of confirmed new bullish market structure on the 17th, which was, what day is it today? Oh my gosh, 19th. So yeah, basically like during the weekend, we put in a little bullish structure here, bounced up, and now we're pulling back into the RLZ of that move, which I just hid. So absolutely, there is a reason to hunt for a long off here. I'm not rushing to do so, mostly because I don't trade ETH versus BTC. I don't know, I don't find it like a very sexy pair to trade. I just use it as more of a weather map, weather gauge. But let's zoom in, because what I want to see when we come into this level is not just touching that level. I want to see it getting some bullish divergence. So you guys can kind of take a peek at how I would approach this if I was dying to get along here. Okay, we're actually getting that. So that's really good news. Because I kind of assume most people have altcoin exposure and want to see altcoins do well, because there's a sexiness to it. You can get 10x, 100x. Like, those are like returns that are pretty possible within a year on altcoins. Probably not going to get 10x or 100x on your Bitcoin long this year, without leverage or whatever. So generally speaking, I just think alts are more attractive to the average human like myself. So if I speak to you as if I am assuming you're an altcoin holder, that's why. I'm certainly a big fan of altcoins, but much more over the last 2 years, I've learned to be seasonal about my altcoin bullishness, and it has done very well for me. So let's take a look here as the MACD is making a higher low. So that means the momentum came down fairly strongly. It bounced and is now coming down with much less velocity. And at the same time that that's happening, the internals here showing some signs of bullish divergence, as price actually came down lower this morning and just actually about half an hour ago tagged the 786. So that's what you want to see for ETH BTC right now if you're a bull. So that's actually good news. But again, starting with high time frame bias, it's important to just keep an idea of that bigger picture that I started with on this chart, which is that we are bouncing fairly weakly off of this big key support, which usually does not end well. So what would I say for alerts? Well, certainly if we lose these lows, I'm very concerned, right? We plowed through this key support and bounce nicely. If we get in there again and lose it again, it's not looking good. High probability that we then have a proper shit. Now, yeah, it doesn't spell the end of anything, except for this rally, which, to be fair, probably ended in mid to late August anyways. So always just kind of want to keep an eye on the market because, of course, if I see a trade, if I see an opportunity, and certainly if I see a big trend change where it's like, holy shit, like alts just bottomed, let's get in. I want to know about that. And I just don't see it just yet. So let's see here, getting into this kind of area, that's what I want to see. That's the bullish scenario for these alts. And I mean, we just saw in the 15 minutes, that's already turning around now. So that could even just come sooner. But until we get above this area here, it's all just noise and chop. And it may be the case, especially as a newer trader, that you find little movements and setups throughout this chop. And you think, oh, cool. But like, are you going to catch the big move? And to do so, you're risking getting chopped up. So you're like, oh, tried to long here, got stopped out, tried to long here, got stopped out. And so it's stopped out, stopped out, stopped out. And it can be really frustrating and demoralizing. And then someday, whenever that is, a very clear trend is going to take place. And it's just going to be like a little bit like DeFi was this summer. It's going to be everything's going up. It's so sexy. All these new pre-sales are coming out. They're launching at 50x from their pre-sale. Like all of this stuff will come back to the market in one way or another. Even if it's a strong bear trend, at least it's like, oh shit, we can short every bounce. Sign me up. Like we can make money on that. When that time comes, how much of today's capital are you going to have left in your account? That's sort of the way I think about it now. If I got to sit on my hands for a week, for a month, it's boring as hell. It's not very sexy. I'll do my analysis. I'll read a book. I'll learn something new. I'll equip myself for the day that new trend comes. And that's where I use the term like this, risk off, risk on, right? So there are some alt setups I'm going to show you in a sec on SXP. But I don't have a ton of risk on that. It's a fairly small position size. It's not going to make or break me. It's not going to stress me out. But I'm in it because it's a setup, and a setup's a setup is a setup, and traders got to trade. But I am not firing on all cylinders right now in any direction. Mostly focusing on my futures account. And where was that Bitcoin one? Here we go. And on my spot exposure now that I'm back in. So, just things to think about. When to go all out and when to cool your jets. And that's actually why I came up with this. We're in uncertainty right now. If ETH BTC rolls over, like we just talked about, that is definitely what would coincide with a move like this in dominance. That would probably cause the move in dominance because ETH BTC makes up most of what happens on this chart. And of course, if Ethereum breaks out to the upside, like we just looked at, possible, that would be this kind of breakdown. So has it made a decision either way? No. Am I going to take big positions either way and risk missing out with all that capital that I might lose then on the next big trend that has a clear signal? Certainly not. So I hope that makes sense. Because, as a trader, you can only make money if you have capital, something you can risk in the market. It's essentially gambling, right? The market is the biggest casino in the world. The trading, the New York Stock Exchange, whatever you want to call it. Make no mistake about it, folks. Now, you can move as far away from gambling as possible by managing risk and having a plan so that you can make it, it's a fancy way of gambling. And I used to gamble. I used to gamble a lot. I used to play poker, sports betting, and all that. I don't consider this gambling like I did that. That was shots in the dark. This is a little different. So this is an XXP long that I am in. So shout out to Linus. If you watch this later, appreciate you, bro. He brought this trade up on our stream last week, and it was actually right here. And I was just looking at it saying, you know what? We had this nice bullish divergence. We had the bullish market structure breakout. We popped up. We were rolling back in. And this now, down in this RLZ, is where I want to get long. That's where this breakout gets validated, right? I don't need to chase it, but I do need to drop my fib, get back down into this reload zone, see some bullish divergence, which I did right here, right? See, so the price came in, made a new low. MACD made a higher low. So that tells me it's back down here and it's slowing down. There's less sellers. The sell volume is falling off. And so here we are. And my trade is active. And as you can see here, you look in these charts and you say like, holy shit, how did that guy get that entry at the perfect low? It's not rocket science, guys. It's this concept that I talk about all the time, right? These fibs, picking those levels and being patient. It missed me. Oh, it actually pinged right here. I did not have the order set there, I think. And so it bounced up. I just remember being not in the trade when this bounced up. Maybe I was in and closed it to try to get lower. I forget what it was. But I finagled it a little bit. And so I watched this bounce up and I thought, oh shit, I missed it. I didn't chase it. I might have last year when I'm like, oh, well, it's a bull and I just want to be in it. But I've learned too many times that that's just stupid. It doesn't work over the long term. And so I just, I stick to the plan, get my bids back in. I actually had one up around 119, and then I added the size a little bit down below on the weekend. And now we're just chopping along. It's up a couple $100. If it goes down, a couple $100 down. Like this, it's a probably like a 0.5% risk type trade. So I'm in it. I am practicing my ability to trade, and I'm not trying to like how shall we say risk the house, or I'm not trying to go for it on any one trade, and that's an important thing. So that's why I'm sharing the specifics of this trade, so that you guys can get a feel for if anyone's really trying to take this trading stuff seriously. You are not, I think it's so easy to want to make it today, right? I want to be a millionaire. I want that money now. Tell me what's going to moon. I will go and buy it. I'll take way too much risk, and I just want to get rich. The path to easy money is often, chasing easy money is often the quickest path to losses. So if I can impress anything on you guys today, it's this just to move slow. Come in. Took me a couple of years to get to where I'm at today. You will make over 1,000. Like if you want to be a great trader, if you want to be the kind of person who can just work from a laptop anywhere in the world and make significant sums of money, and obviously those compound over time, and someday it's just ridiculous. If you want that, you have to be willing to make 1,000 mistakes, and you have to have the money to make 1,000 mistakes, which means paper trading is free. Trading small is minimal impact on your portfolio. I am probably at like 400 mistakes, 500 mistakes. I'm not there yet. I don't think I've hit my full stride, and that's just being honest. I think I've come a long way in my trading and my analysis, and I love it. I feel good about it. But in 5 years, when I look back at me today, I'll watch this video and I'll be like, holy shit, I didn't even know about the such and such tool that I use every day now, right? So I'm constantly learning, constantly reading. And if I'm not trading, I'm picking up something else. So my advice to you, the actual advice I would give, not financial advice, but life advice, is to take this shit seriously and really decide, like, do you want to be at that level of excellence where you're like, I couldn't have done anything more. I absolutely fucking crushed it. Or if I didn't, it's like, it's not because I didn't try. Or do you just want to like fly by and see if you can make a quick buck? Some of you might, that's your thing. You're like, I just don't have the time and I'm just going to try this. I'm not hating on that. I'm just, but just define for yourself what you want. And if you want to grind, you've come to the right place, because we'll be here grinding all the time and can answer some questions. Okay, Philippe asks, let me get to the chat here. Do you leave your free positions on in alts? Yes. The positions I have now, let me actually look at them. The positions I have right now are, for the most part, are free. In fact, all of them except for two. I have very small positions in SLP and Rari, some NFT tokens. I mean very small, like a 0.1% of my portfolio. Just literally, I was like, I'm just going to punt a few $100 in here or whatever, $50, $100, and get a little bit of exposure to that for the next year or two. And I barely look at them because, you want to keep them pretty insignificant in size if you're going to really hold them through whatever. I have, all free positions if I'm holding them right now. So that's an important distinction too, right? So I'm 12% in altcoins, but those are altcoins that I skimmed out of some kind of trade this summer. I'm not sitting in like, fresh, new, expensive positions that are risking my current portfolio. Let's take a look at TOMO. We're going to take a look at AION. If any of you guys know me, I like AION. Not because the price goes up. If I was waiting for that, I would not like AION to go down for about 3 years now. But it's a project that I have a free position in from 2017. THETA for sure. Oh, and Vamsy, I was thinking about you the other day. Last Wednesday, I told you I was going to get How to Spot a Trend Reversal Part 3. And I thought about you on Thursday because I was in a meeting and it ran for 2.5 hours. And I thought, I am not going to get that video done today. So sorry, bro. I was thinking about you, and I am definitely going to be getting that done this week. So shout out to you for keeping me honest. And AION is racing to the lows, all-time lows. So it is at a point of maximum risk reward. In other words, I could probably risk like 2% to have infinite upside. But it looks like shit, and I'm going to talk about it in a sec. Look at this chart, and this is not like project sucks, so it goes down. The inflation was too high. They were printing coins, TRS. I was involved in that, so I liked it at first. When the first TRS payment came out, basically the way it worked is if you got it in by the day, there was a smart contract, and you send your AION from presale, or what I ended up buying off Ether Delta. You send it into that smart contract, and if you get it in by the deadline, you're involved in the TRS program. And 2 weeks later, they gave you all that AION back that you locked, plus 120% more AION. And over the next 12 months, you got a monthly payment that eventually equaled 460% or so more AION than you started with. So it was sick. I mean, it was like free money. And at the time, AION was rallying. I think it was pre-sale or something. It was 25 cents, 50 cents, and it ended up shooting up to like $12. So TRS was like a friggin' lottery ticket. And I discovered it 3 hours before it locked. And I read about it for 2.5 hours. And then I just fired in like a pretty sizable amount just because I was like, well, in 2 weeks, I'll get it back. And then I'll just have that free bag for 12 months. I mean, it was great. The first TRS distribution, I think, was worth something ridiculous, like 10 grand. And I was just like, holy shit, like I'm rich, 12 months of this. The last TRS distribution of the same amount of tokens that I got was worth $250. That's just market dynamics, right? You give away free shit, people are going to sell it and price go down. So don't look at that chart to decide how strong the project is. You got to do more research. And Matt Spoke is the CEO. He did a AMA actually like last week. I had it pegged to listen to it, and I was just saying to the producer before the show, I was like, damn it, I forgot to listen to that. But he talks about moves, and he kind of goes into some of the latest FUD. One of the co-founders of the project stepped away and talked a little smack on his way out the door. And so there was a lot of heat about that. And so he addressed it. So I will watch that and listen to it. I might even just find the link and pull it up now, so you don't have to wait for me to tell you what it says. You can just listen to it for yourself. But I would like to check that out. I've met Matt. He's from Toronto. He's a well-spoken guy. I liked him 3 years ago. Haven't met him since. But for what it's worth, I think his heart's in the right place, and I'd be curious to watch that AMA to see sort of his take on that dirty exit by one of his co-founders, who basically called him a scammer and says he's a piece of shit. So we'll see. Now, the price is at range lows. It's just looking awful. Now, typically, this is where I would want to take a shot. I missed this move. I was a little salty about that earlier in the spring. I was like, meh, didn't chase it. I'm going to have to come back down. Caught a really nice trade here. I think, maybe I have to pull that up on the Binance. Binance BTC pairs, I think I actually have the ink on it. But, there were some trades on this. And I'm doing a deep dive on AION today because, hey, baby, I like this one. Let's see. Gan Square. And Eclipse. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So this was my trade on AION earlier this year. I had a couple. All right. So waiting for it. And it was right here. There was actually this fib. Oops. There's actually this fib from this range. And I was watching, through May and June. And I thought, okay, if it comes down to this sweet spot, that's like a perfect lineup with this GAN angle, this 8-to-1 angle. Okay, I'm going to get long here and close it at resistance. So that was the one trade I've made on AION this year. Except that's a lie, because last week I caught a trade here buying this support. And then the next day, the thing friggin' pumped. And somebody on Twitter actually commented, they said there was a pump and dump group that they saw on Telegram that announced AION as their pump for the day. So I was like, oh shit. So I got the hell out of that trade, thankfully, because it came down pretty much the next day. Where was it? Yeah, here. So, I mean, in like classic price action form, where you get the top and you draw down here, and then you get your nice exit on the short RLZ. And because it was a pump and dump group that probably ran that, there was just no more gas left in the tank, and they all probably got their exit. Suckers, dicks. But yeah, so I don't know what kind of group that was. I don't even remember the name, but it was a really nice signal. So whoever said that on Twitter, I appreciate you, because my entry was so good that I probably would have just tried to hold through this thinking I caught the bottom. But with information like that, I was like, well, no, I'll just take that profit. I am not back in. And it looks from this view that we actually lost this support and are just heading towards the lows. And actually, as I speak, oh my God, as I speak, sell it all. It's going to zero. But like, look at this thing, 660. I'll be honest. I think TRS actually ends like the final one. I'm obviously long since not getting any, but appreciate all the stuff you guys are doing. Made me feel a better trader. Good, Vamsy, appreciate that. Yeah, Sand guys, we're gonna get into this. I know I'm rambling on AION, but I've been thinking about doing kind of a more thorough take on it lately because it is such a critical level right now. So roll with me here, and then we're gonna go rapid fire on some good stuff. All those alts. I mean, look at this thing. I've got an alert set for 650. The all-time low is 640. It is never traded below 640 sats ever. And it is about 20 sats above that level. Could it tag that? Could it sweep that and bounce back up? Sure. But is it trending up? No, it's trending down. I can't take blind shots against those lows. I just can't. It's against my trading plan. Now, if I was like a dollar cost averaging kind of guy and I'm like, I just really want to be long on AION and be longer on AION through the next year, certainly this is an area where I'm like, sweet. I mean, I'm certainly not like FOMOing up here and then selling here. That's crazy. But I think it's going to break down. There, I said it. I think it is. I think we're going to lose these lows and we're going to do some negative price discovery. And that sucks because I really like AION. I still have an old bag, free bag from TRS that used to be worth a lot more. I don't look at it very much. Someday it'll be back. It's staking. They have staking. It's like decent, 7 to 8% annual, and it's just sitting there collecting dust and some stake rewards. But yeah, I mean, look, let's see desperation play. Okay, so we had the low come in. Does it get marked by a bunch of buy volume to mark the low? Nope. Otherwise, I might have said, let's draw this up and, try to get long off this, but I just don't see it. And you can see we actually navigated the support pretty clearly. Bounce off it, break through it, retest it, break down. So probability is very high, in my opinion, that this thing is about to take a big old dive. Now, what I hope, and here's the hopeful bit of this break, that we break from here and there's just no volume. We lose the lows, no sellers show up. It just sits down here for maybe like a week and there's just no big sell volume comes in. Because most assets, when you have a big low put in like this over a year, if you lose that low, there'd be some pretty high volume selling and it'd be like, oh my God, we lost the low, get out. But it's possible after all of this downside, you would think it's possible that we're actually out of sellers. So let's hope. It's very possible that we lose these lows and there's not a whole lot of volume and then we break back above the lows, in which case that would be a sick buy signal and I'll be getting some. But for right now, we're just on the edge of negative price discovery on a big downtrend and no real sign of the buyers. So that's my long-winded take on AION. A week ago, I was buying these lows. Today, I am not. And that's just the way it's got to be. Got to protect capital right now. Again, when I'm also, okay, so circling back to what we talked about earlier, when I'm at this point where I'm like, shit, it is at the lows, like that's typically on a strong coin with a big bottom base like this, that's where I would want to buy. But then I go back, and that's why I like things like this. Are we in a rip-roaring bull market? Is dominance trending down very strongly? No. So why would I take an otherwise, 50-50 at best shot against these lows, right? All these things kind of coming together in my mind just tell me that this is not a shot I'm going to take here. And if it ends up like this and then it shoots up, it's low probability, definitely possible. But I'll miss it or I'll have to catch it up here. And that's a risk I'm willing to take given all this information. Is there a harmonic 3 drives in that price action? Ooh, Philippe, you put me on the spot. I would have to be retaught or have to look it up what the 3 drives is. I know that's a TRI concept that I've heard of before, but I don't use it day to day. Hi, what do you think of ENJ? It's a very important level of support on the weekly bounce or die. How will evolve as data did? Already 70% up from the lows, weekly support. Love the streams. Great. Timea, appreciate it. I'm going to check that out right now. Actually, ENJ was on my short list at one point this summer. Let's take a look. I have a chart drawn up here. Let's have a look. Yeah. I mean, it is at support, as you say. There is a bigger, grosser support down here as far as high time frames, but let's take a look at the weekly. Yeah. So when I look at a coin like this, again, okay, let me preface all of this by saying that yesterday and today, I actually got a really eerie feeling like we were in 2018. And let me put some context on that. We just had, and this is actually a good time for this, we just had like a crazy sort of condensed bull cycle. And we'll actually hyperlink this, Jono, for this rant that I've got here before we get into more of these chart requests. So look, we just went through an accelerated ICO season, in my opinion. DeFi, and it was like 2017 all over again. You know, things going out, pre-sales coming out, swap token, trust swap, that thing. And this thing went 325x from its ICO. You're telling me that's not a bubble, a cycle? And as you can see, it's come right back down. So this is what I mean when I say accelerated cycle, because 2017 obviously took a lot longer. This thing played out at an accelerated rate. And you can see it right on the Uniswap volume. I mean, Uniswap's not new. It was around in 2018, V1, or 2019. And I had a buddy who's been trading on it and, you know, using it quite a bit. And he's like, see what I tell you about Uniswap when it blew up this year, right? So all of these things to say, before I lose my point, get too confused. With that in mind, does this cycle look complete? Does not, sadly. So we are at support, and there's absolutely reason to believe that we could get a bounce here. But as far as like a full cycle goes, I mean, here's your Samsung announcement from February 2019. What a crazy pump that was on ENJ. I remember that. And then we came down, and look how long it took to form the bottom. This is a weekly. So it took from like July to basically November to confirm a new breakout to a new sort of cycle or bullish move. And then it just, you know, rallied all through 2020. Didn't really get the big rally I think a lot of ENJ holders were probably hoping for, given what was going on in the space. But we put in a double top, confirmed that right here on this, the loss of this low here, right? That confirmed on July 27th. And then this squeeze up, actually, this is like a perfect setup that I always talk about. So let's take a look at it. Right. So on the daily, this is really where we confirm this double top, right? Is it a double top or not? I don't know. We got to wait for the confirmation. Here was the confirmation. It's not a double top until you actually go back down, right? Otherwise, it could just have done this. So you want to get that confirmation. Now, once you have that confirmation, well, how do I short it? How do I trade it? When do I exit? Well, I can't tell you what you should do, but I do this. After the fail, I start looking for the shorts, or if it's the inverse, the longs, up in the short RLZ. And look at that. Again, always seems to just be smack, smack, smack. And then you get those, right? And now we're just trending down. So long story short on ENJ, it just doesn't look done yet. It doesn't look done yet. And that's okay, as long as I'm not rushing to take big longs. So let me get back to your question. Bounce or die? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the higher time frame we just looked at already confirmed that it's, you know, going to unwind for a bit. The thing too is like this move is so unhealthy, right? It's news-based pump. It's crazy, but it takes a long time to clean up. You know, it's like it's so unhealthy that it's like they need to heal now, and the chart's going to have to really take a while. So would it be surprising at all to come back and do this kind of thing? Really, like, you know, cleaning up the books, getting all those sort of quote unquote weak hands shaken out, because that's what you get in a place like this, right? You get weak hands. You get people who bought in because it was going up, got stuck in that trade, say, I'm a holder now, I'm a holder now, I'm a holder now, I'm just going to hold because this thing's going to go up. See, I told you it's going up. Uh-oh, it's not going up. Okay, I'm so fed up. This coin's shit. Everything's going to the moon. I'm just going to get out. And they chop themselves out during this part of the market, right? That's where all those tough decisions are made. And for some cases, it is a good decision. Somebody's sitting in a coin that's not moving, and they probably are overexposed, and they just need to cut and sort of reset. And I've done that before, probably twice, where I was just in too many things and I was unorganized. It was 2 years ago and I was like, holy shit. And I just sell everything. And you reset, and then you have no attachment to those otherwise dead or downtrending bags. And it feels like you're taking an L, but really you're just setting yourself up to have a clear head and sort of move forward based on what's actually trending up or what's actually a good trade versus just sitting in it because you were sitting in it. So that's sort of the psychology of how these cycles play out. And once those people all leave, once all those sellers, those people that are on the edge get out, and who's buying their bags? Who's the one reaccumulating down here, right? And then the cycle repeats. And it may not be those exact same people that buy into the next pump, but it'll be somebody just like them. It's hard to always predict exactly what price will do, but on mass, it's actually fairly easy to predict what humans will do. Human behavior has not changed and will continue to remain unchanged for the most part. Again, en masse. Individual human behavior is very difficult to predict in certain settings, but you see it in the charts, and that's why things like these fibs, and that's why these cycles, that's why you see it again and again and again, because it is an illustration of human behavior, which again is fairly predictable in large groups. So I hope that stuff makes sense. That's my quick take on market cycles, and applied to the ENJ chart, I would say we're not there yet. Another one that reminds me of that, sadly, because I like this coin, did really well with it in January, is this move. Right? They announced a partnership with Google. Actually, Google announced a partnership with HBAR. So that's even bigger pump because it's coming from the traditional world. And this thing was crazy. Sick pump. I loved it. I actually bought this W breakout, as you guys hear me talk about, catching these. I bought it and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go long on HBAR. And then it friggin' exploded. And I was like, holy shit. So I sold and I held a little moon bag. I still have a little moon bag, because that's what I do when I have a free position. I just keep it forever on the books until we have some new cycle where taxi drivers start telling me to buy Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, we're at the top, sell everything. And yeah, same thing. It's going to take a long time for this to unwind. And that's also part of why paying yourself on huge friggin' rip face rallies is so nice, because I'm not that person now who has to suffer through this and get stuck through this and say, I'm just going to hold, it's going to go back up, because I think it will go back up, but I don't want to sit for 2 years and wait, or 8 months, whatever it is. It's been about 9 months now. So I'm trading other shit, but I still have my little moon bag. And when we get down into here, if we do, right, filling in the VPVR here, which you can see has like this big gap. It's really ugly squiggly. Sorry about that. So like this needs to be filled in. There was no price discovery here, right? It just like shot through that. Again, going back to that ETH BTC chart, like this kind of stilt. That's the kind of stuff that has to be corrected. Now, I tried to take a long out of this pennant. You guys might remember that. It was on stream, I think I was talking about it. And it crapped out. I got stopped out. So I lost the set amount of money I was willing to lose. I took the L. I wrote it down. That's going to happen about 40 to 60% of the time. And then, just got out. And actually, it rallied 2 weeks later, and I was like, damn it. Is it really going to just stop me out and then go? But I didn't FOMO back in. Didn't worry about it. It's just another trade. And as it turns out, that's been good. There's something so nice when you do good things, like things that are good focus, part of the process for trading, and they feel bad, right? Like not being in this trade after I got stopped out as it goes above my initial entry. I could have avoided that loss if I just held, those kinds of negative thoughts that are useless, but you just ignore them. And I do the right thing. The thing that I know in my trading plan is what I'm supposed to do. And then this happens and I get validated. Oh, it just feels great. I highly, strongly encourage you guys, if you want to tell me in the chat which ones of you are actually, really diving in deep to this trading stuff. And if you're not, and you're just like, hey, I just want to watch, I want to know what's going on with the markets, I'm speculating lightly in crypto, that's great. Welcome. Love that. But if you're sitting here with notepads and you're grinding and you're like, I'm going to make a trading plan and I'm going to, if you're doing that, hit me up in the chat, say hi, because I love that idea. I love the feeling that some people are in on this and we can be in on this together. And really, it takes work. You got to work hard if you want to, if you want to get there. You can't just do what feels easy and right and chase what's pumping. Like you've got to fight some really, really base human emotions and instincts that you have. And that's fucking hard work. So I just want to see who's doing that. Okay, we got TOMO, THETA, Swap, Sand, RSR, just touched on E&J, and let's take a look at Phil. So we got a nice list building up to for the top end of the stream. We're already at an hour. Holy shit. I got nowhere to be, so I'm going to stick around for you guys for a little bit because this is my favorite part of the Monday. And Tamea reset. Yeah, it's just, it's just the cycles. It's the way she goes. And part of what I love about trading, Tamea, is that in recognizing this price action and learning how to chart it and getting into these cycles, I no longer am a victim of the downside of the cycle. Through 2018, 2019, I was a victim. Part of my bag was a victim of that bear cycle, big time. It was very depressing, very shitty, even though I had taken what I thought at the time was life-changing money at the top, and it was. I left probably 3 times that in the market because I didn't know any better, and I was like, yeah, well, going to the moon. Fuck it. Cartoon on Twitter told me, right? So, but I don't sit in those cycles anymore. If something's not going exactly the way I wanted it, the way that my setup says it should, if I realize then I am wrong, I'm invalidated, I get the fuck out. And taking little losses avoids taking the big losses. Holding in the high timeframes is probably going to age really well for a lot of people. And when that day comes, if that day comes, those people will be very loud and they will tell you, sucker, like I just told you. But they don't know. They don't. Sorry. Especially for altcoins. For Bitcoin, I'm pretty close to feeling like I know it's going to do really well. But for altcoins, there's 6,500 of these things. Which one's going to go? Which CEO is going to get in a car accident and suddenly that great project is, dead or taking a shit? Like, who knows? You just don't know. So sitting in those bags, waiting for the market to pay you, I feel like I'm giving myself to the market, and market is not really in the business of giving away free money. So I don't trust it with my bags. And that's why I really switched over to become a trader. And it comes with its stresses as well. So it's not all fancy and easy. I lost $200 today on a little trade, right? That happens. But I feel more in control of the very least of my decisions. And I'm feeling ranty today. I don't know. I'm fired up. I'm fired up about the, just sharing what I've learned through pain and suffering, so we can all learn together. Because I don't want you guys to ever think you jump on these streams and you're like, oh man, that's so easy and so sexy and so flashy. It's a grind, but we're here together. We got Nick in the stream on Wednesdays and Fridays, and get a squad, all that. Let's take a look at the chat, and then I really want to get into these altcoins because I'm full ramble today. Shows a huge daily bullish OBV, FIO BTC. We'll take a look at that. What do you think is forming the bottoming structure? Appreciate it, Reardon. Says the analysis is helpful. He took my medicine, cut my longs, took my losses. Yep. That's a hard thing to do, those resets. And sometimes they're ill-advised. They seem to always happen at the bottom. But I've known a few people that did it, and as soon as they did it, they're like, holy shit, cutting those bags was so freeing. And then, even if those bags go back up, doesn't matter. They have their USD or they have their BTC, and they can think clearly, and they start finding better places to place it in the short term, midterm. But it sucks because most people come to that realization after a long downtrend. And so zooming out, they often, look back. They're like, oh, look at my cells right down there at the bottom. But if you got to do it, you got to do it. Sometimes it is the best thing. AION is the best project. AION will be the moon. Yeah, Sakib. I like AION a lot. I'm a big fan. Through all of this, I've been remaining a fan. But for reasons I just explained, I'm not going to buy this low just yet. Certainly not blindly. If I see some Wing, some bullish volume, like anything at all, and I'll jump in. I'm on it. I want to learn it. Good, Jim. Appreciate it. And you're in. I get that vibe from you. So good. So I'm not even going to ask for the coin to chart today. Okay, cool. And rant it. Love the rants. Okay, good, guys. I'm glad you're with me on these rants. Sometimes they have direction. Sometimes I feel like I go off the deep end, but hopefully makes sense. Can we look at Link? Looks like a good buy right now. Yeah. So let's take a look at some buys. Because, even on the days that I'm bored or I think things are trending down or I'm waiting for dominance to give me a signal, which it has not yet. If anything, dominance has given me a signal to chill the fuck out, trying to speculate on alts. But through all that, I want to know if there is a good trade. So real quick, I'm just going to look at ETH. We haven't talked about Ethereum today. Ethereum is a little concerning to me because it is lagging behind Bitcoin. And that makes sense if you look at the ETH BTC chart, because as this goes down, that means ETH is losing value compared to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin's shooting up and ETH is going up, but at a slower rate, because over here, as you can see, people are preferring Bitcoin over Ethereum right now, as this little market structure fail here shows from last week. So over on the ETH USD chart, you can see that it hasn't even broken up from this bullish market structure. I need the 4-hour. So whereas Bitcoin is up here in its pattern, Bitcoin is more up here in its pattern. Whoa, that's really gross, right? So Bitcoin's kind of like heading up to its short RLZ, as you can see right here, right? So it's already broken above this midpoint. It's moving up towards range highs. And here's Ethereum, hasn't even broken its midpoint. And not only that, it's struggling at this short RLZ right here, below resistance. So something is wrong right now in the Ethereum town, which again is strange because you would think with the happening sort of in the past, as far as hype and excitement, speculation goes, ETH 2.0 should be the center of attention right now. So this is a little bit concerning, and I'm not sure what to make of it. So I'm not going to try to speculate too hard, other than to say that while Bitcoin is pushing to sort of a new high in this pattern, pretty decent breakout with some nice volume. Again, I still think going up to range highs, so I'm not too worried about this little pullback yet. While that's happening, Ethereum didn't even break the friggin' highs. What the hell? What's your problem, ETH? So I would be a little bit cautious here. Certainly not rushing to buy in a short RLZ to the long side. That's maximum risk with minimum reward. So again, could just break out to new highs, and you'd say, "Look, I'm a genius. I got long right here." But on par over time, that will wash you out of much more money than it will bring you in. Is what I've learned. So cautious with longs here. If you're trading like I do with the short RLZs and all that stuff, if you're like a breakout trader and you see this as a breakout, then this is your bullish throwback. Yeah, there's probably a long in here for a guy like Nick. I know he likes to trade like that. And get your long here. You're probably gonna have to risk down to these lows. So you're gonna have to find, enough upside to make it worth your 1.6% risk, which is at least, to me. I mean, the guy who taught me trading says at least get your 2 to 1, but I don't hit at a high enough rate percentage wise. I find to justify 2 to 1s. I like 3 to 1s, and I really actually just mostly trade 4 to 1s. In other words, I can be right like 25% of the time and break even. And I typically am at more of a hit rate of closer to 45 to 50%. So in this case, I'm in the profit. So yeah, I mean, I think there is a bullish retest long on ETH right here. But I find it odd that it is lagging behind Bitcoin in general. I think that's just a little weird. Perhaps the DeFi hype train is what pushed it. And since DeFi is just trending down and looking gross, that is why we are sort of seeing the wheels come off on Ethereum, and it's just kind of slowing down and being boring right now. So we are going to talk about the DeFi PERP pretty soon and what that means for DeFi going forward. But let's get into some of these coins. You guys have come here. You've said, I want to watch what RT has to say. I'm going to ask about this coin. And here I am ranting about my own shit, not even looking at your coins. So let's take a look at those. TOMO, quick fire, baby. Yeah, we could do it on here. I think I have some old ink. It'll be funny to watch the old ink now because I haven't been to these charts in well over a month and a half. So we'll see how accurate some of this shit ended up being. Yeah, pump chaser zones. I think we called those off. I forget which part of the summer, but basically said, pump chaser zones are no longer in fashion because the pumps have worn off. And sure enough, this one got blown up. So let's now move into what is now the season, reload zones. So when you have a really strong trend, those pump chaser zones are sick. You can chase them up. They don't come down to the reload zones very often in a strong trend. But knowing when to turn off the pump chaser zone is really important. And looks like we nailed it this summer. So that's good to know. So we came down, broke this market structure here, right? We put in a new high. That's quite bullish, looking good. Let's get the pump chaser. Here was the pump chaser zone. Failed. This candle body low, confluent with the bottom of the pump chaser. That's where, like, if I was longing that, I would get the fuck out. And as it turns out, it was a good idea. Now, the rally, if you're still trapped in your position and you're like, I really need to get out, I don't want to hold this through that bottoming cycle like we talked about on ENJ, like some of this, where I'm just sitting there not sure if it's ever coming back, and ultimately selling the bottom if you're not careful. Well, get into that short RLZ and let's see. Sure enough, oh my God, can't make this shit up. Right to the sweet spot. Tag. So if you're trapped in a position or you're buying this W, I mean, these kinds of fibs, we'll put the video up right here afterwards, and you can click on that, and it's just a quick 1-minute video on how to apply a fib to your chart. And look at this shit. Boom. So that would have been a late exit if somebody was looking, and clearly somebody was. That's why the price stopped there. They sold, and they put a top into that, and that's just, again, markets cycling through what is now going to be a little bit of a downtrend, or is a downtrend. We're actually probably arriving, I would hope, close to what should be the bottom, but not yet, because look, it takes a lot of time to unwind these kinds of moves. So for example, I expect a top to look like this. I rarely expect a bottom to look like that, where we just like go from here. Like there's just not enough time here for the money to change hands from weak to strong, to cycle through like we talked about earlier. So it is likely going to have to be this kind of thing. And that's pretty normal, actually. That's December. What is this? January? February? Get that spring fling going, as we've seen for years in a row now on crypto, and then we start doing that again. But who's going to still be around when that happens? Not most people. Most people go to where the grass is green, right? And that's why it's hard to make money in the markets, because this is when you want to, oops, didn't mean to do that. This is where you want to play ball because everything's sexy and it's going up, and you get really aggressive with your risk, right? I'm just speaking more plainly to like the average retail participant. This is what you would do naturally, especially if you're not looking at charts. You just see price go up, so you just go buy. But if you come back and look at the chart, you'd be like, holy shit, this is like the top of a move. And then down here, not interested at all. Engagement on Twitter and general search engine stuff is down. There's like a market depression. And looking back, whenever that next rally comes, you'll be like, oh, where was I during this? I should have been buying. So we will be buying, but I'm not the one to accumulate slow bags and just be chilling. I'm on here too much. I'm staring at it most days. So I can't just do that. But when we get something like this on TOMO, which we got right here, this was long and boring and just hanging out. That's a daily. That took from March to June. So not even that long in the grand scheme of things. But when it broke out, it was a pretty clear signal. Buy the RLZ dip and go. Wait for the top to come in, get out, make your money. That's a trade. So there's no long trade set up here. In fact, it's just trending down. It's too late to short, too early to long. Wait and see on TOMO is the official. Now, THETA. Ooh, let's look at THETA. I am actually trading THETA. I'm not in the trade right now. As you guys know, I've been short on THETA. Where's my Binance futures? Here we go. BinFuts. THETA. Oh, yeah, this one's going to sting because it's probably coming way down, and I'm not in the big short that I was in. So I basically was looking for a swing position in THETA, and I ended up sizing it such that it had to be a scalp because it was so friggin' volatile that I just couldn't hold it. There's a lesson for me. As I said, 466 mistakes. We'll make that 467. Sizing so that I am comfortable holding a position for the full amount of the trade. Okay, so shorting up against these highs in this short RLZ, great entry. Look at that. So cool, right? Drops down. I'm up quite a bit, and I get out because I just don't want to see that go away, and it keeps bouncing up. So why won't it bounce up one more time? But it didn't, and so I'm not in. So that sucks. Yeah, it's just the reality of my life right now. But I think the important thing to take away here is that, I'm not really beating myself up. I haven't thought about theta all day today. I do have some short orders. Whether they're going to hit or not, I don't know. But I do have some up here, and I don't think it's that crazy that those might fill over the next week or two, depending on what Bitcoin and some of the alts do. But yeah, high time frame. This thing looks just bearish as hell. I mean, talk about what a bottom looks like. www.breakout. And then what a top looks like. fail. It just, I think it's got to at least, and let's look at it on a line chart so you guys know why I'm picking these levels. I'll get over here to crush the EMAs and make us a nicer color. Let's get a nice bright green. So I think theta will be hard pressed to bottom anywhere above this level here. In other words, it's going to have to come down to at least there. And to really correct the chart, to really sort of fix itself up after that beautiful rally it had into this big influencer week. I mean, this was a sick trade. I'm going to be short on theta at some point if it does have this full unwind. And I can't complain. I made a decent amount on that scalp, but it was clearly sized to a point where I wasn't comfortable just ignoring it for, a month or two. So, hit my quota, did okay, but it was a swing position potentially. Now, yeah, so I mean, is it going to W out here, squeeze up in there? That would be really sweet. In fact, a lot of trades do set up that way. As you guys see, I wait for that fail and then start. So on the swing sort of scale of things, technically the trade actually fired here on this little break. But, a larger one fired here. So am I going to get lucky? I'll tell you why I don't think I will. I'm going to keep my orders in there because I want them to hit. But this was a sell the news event, right? There was a big Theta TV promotion with a bunch of influencers going live on the 15th, just like last Thursday. And so naturally it rallies into that. Nice big volume falling off here, bit of a weakness signal. And then you had this market structure fail that fired right here. So any bounce up from there was for shorting. And sure enough, bing. Now, that event has passed. It is going on right now, but the excitement about the event coming up is past. It's sell the news. Excitement in, sell the news. So that's why I think I may be a little hard pressed to get that sort of, squeeze up into there. But it's definitely possible. I'm going to keep my orders working. I have some alerts set. And you never know what this week of influencers will entail. Maybe they'll say some cool shit, and that would be a gift if they like hype theta during their big influencer week, and that will be the squeeze. And do not fall for that shit, because that's setting up the short. That's not changing your mind about being short. So that's my take on theta. Now, I think this, we talk about cycles today. I think there is a full cycle in store. Sweep these lows at least, take the sweet spot, tap this node on the VPVR, maybe even fill this gap down here. So what a sick short. So that's why I mean, like, at some point, as this does what it's going to do, whatever, I will be short on this. It's just a matter of if I can get my big swing position or if I'm going to be zooming into some little scalps or something. But my thesis is strong. The coolest part about this trade is that the market could rally. Altcoins could come back and start rallying and going crazy, and this would still go down potentially because it's just in a different cycle, right? It's been rallying for 2 months while everything else was shitting the bed. So it's like a perfect short proxy. And then also, if the market falls off and Bitcoin rolls over and altcoins go down, then it's going to doubly dump. So, God, I love my theta short. I miss it. I miss it dearly. But it's just another mistake. And I'm going to make a bunch of them, and I'm going to learn from them. I'm going to share them with you guys so you can maybe not make the same ones. But chances are you just do have to make the same ones, and that's okay too. But I certainly will never sit here and tell you I'm perfect. What a piece of shit that would make me. Now let's take a look here at the chat. Got into a theta rant. Still maintaining higher lows, though. That might be the end soon. Yeah, we're going to take a look at that, Max. What we talk about. Guys, what is the difference between placing a trade for 1% and say 10x margin, placing the trade for 10% in terms of risk, reward, stress, percentage of your total portfolio? That's a really good question. I want to unpack that one. Ouch, lol. AION chart already? Price. Freaking. Yeah, I did the AION chart, Adam. Actually, I did a deep dive on AION today. So after, maybe watch it back. We are going to hyperlink it in the description as well. I did a whole big old rant on AION with my life story and then some. So definitely go back to that. I don't want to pain anyone else who's watching who doesn't care about AION with any more talk of AION today, other than that I'm passing at these range lows for now, despite it being a all-time low, aka sexy entry. You'll have to go watch it. I'm not buying this just yet. There's a few reasons why I might soon. I talked about those earlier. Now, that's THETA. Yeah, ouch, right? Not too worried about it. It was a good trade for what it was, and I'm gonna see if I can get back in on. I'm not gonna chase it. I just, like we've talked about so much today, it just does not age well. So, what could me getting into this trade look like? Well, let me flip the script. Bounce off the sweet spot. Are we going to, form a little bottom here and then squeeze back up, make everyone who got super bearish right here hate their life, and it shoots back up and it squeezes them. And then, if that happens, because this is so weak, like up here, I was half thinking from all this buy volume, like, oh shit, I might be wrong. We're going to break up. This is confirmation that the idea is correct. Any opportunity I get to short against this is a huge one, and I will be taking it. I will not allow myself to change my bias, no matter how bullish this looks. Unless, of course, there's new information and they've partnered with Google and there's massive buy volume. Like, I'm not stupid, but in general, if it just trickles back up on some, especially like low volume bearish divergence, ooh, what a gift. So we'll be watching this one closely. You will hear me talking about THETA quite a bit, hopefully in the trade later next week, but not too worried about it either way. Honestly, not too worried. Let's move on. Let's move on to swap. I have a swap chart right here. Bing. I am long on swap, and I can't use a stop loss, and obviously not trading it on leverage, so I cannot take much size, but I am long on swap. I bought some here the other day, right around 24 cents. So let's take a look at what I am waiting for. Slightly underwater, it appears. Not too sure how I feel about this trade. I don't worry about how I feel about it. Like, if I think it's going to be right or wrong, 50% of the time I take these longs, they don't win. But when they lose, I lose, in this case, 25%. It's sizable. Actually, it was 23. I don't know why I remember that number, but I do. It's about 23% risk on whatever I took. So something in this ballpark. But that 22% of whatever I bought is going to disappear if I then have to go sell it. Especially, the downside to this is I can't guarantee that exit, because I'll get an alert and then I have to go and sell manually, and that could be down here. Like, who knows, right? It's a little higher risk, so I take less size. But if I am wrong, okay, lose the 22%. If I'm right, I make 100-ish%. I think I was up against these lows here. And so that's the nature of trading, right? You can be wrong 50% of the time, like I am, but your wins are much bigger than your losses. And that's why it's a grind, and that's why your equity curve will always be something like that. And not everyone's cut out for that. It's stressful, man. Because when you lose, especially if you lose a few string in a row, you got to stick, you got to stick to your guns. It is sometimes an error. If you have a vetted plan that works, you've done in like 50 paper trades, 100 paper trades, same criteria, that criteria pumps out X amount of results. You have to be able to endure a losing streak without going, oh, I got to change my whole plan. And that takes, mental fortitude. So, vetting your plan, paper trading, we've talked about that. So swap, I am long. We'll see. I still like it. I mean, I think it's come off so much. I think it's showing signs of a bottom. It's got bullish market structure. It's bounced up. It's trickled down. So let's moon it. If we lose these lows, I am no longer excited about it, and I will cut my bag, and I will try again later. That's swap for you. Sand I was long on. I finagled my trade, exited with minimal profit, and then got stopped out, or would have got stopped out. So it was one of those ones where I kind of played with it a bit. and it turned out kind of rewarding me. But I'll tell you why in just a sec. This one, yeah, it is. Oh, look at that. Still on the chart. So, oh, did it get stopped out now? Sand USDT. Maybe it was BTC. Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Let's take a look. Maybe I wasn't going to have been stopped out yet. And USDT. So the reason I cut this was it was like I forget what it was specifically. It was like I don't know, a month and a half ago. But it was basically it was something macro changed, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to cut some exposure. And so I had gotten long in this RLZ on this sweet spot. It bounced up, came down, went back up, and I just cut it. I was like, yeah, you know what? So as it turns out, it would have been a pretty boring trade. I would have still been in it to this day at almost exactly my entry, like to the pip. Look at that. So that's a little crazy. I forget what it was. Something made me cut this bag in a slight profit, and I'm not actually sure what it was. I think it was just like a macro shift, some kind of trend change on the majors or something that I just said, I'm cutting some of these long exposures. Because once you have like 4 or 5 or 6 alt longs, the risk starts to really pile up since they're so correlated, right? But this one's actually held on pretty strong. So for whoever asked about sand, I don't know if you just fired that off or if you had a specific idea you're looking at. Certainly weren't calling to ask about my trade from 2 months ago, now that I think about it. So let's take a look at what I see now. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's in location. It's sitting on the 618. Doesn't look too strong, does it? Kind of banging at this support here that's just had a beating, failing to make new highs, lower high, dump, lower high, whap. So I'd, going back into it, I would probably be cautious here with getting aggressive on new longs, although it is sitting in all kinds of locations. We got the 702. And sometimes I have a hard time seeing anything else when I am in that sort of position like I am on dominance. I see dominance creeping up. I think in general, it's probably due for a big pushback up to this trend line. So I see this through my bear goggles, if that makes sense. And BTC. So this is what dominance is really talking about. And look, yeah, this does not look appetizing. So what you want to see on a chart when you're thinking about longing it is the letter W. W breakout up, right? You don't want to see the letter M. That was a gross line, but you know what I'm saying. The letter M, the breakdown. And that's actually what we have here. And what's really hard, and this is why probably a lot of I can't say why they call it that, but why you would call this kind of a market chop is because you get a lot of M's. Look, it's a W. Look, it's an M. Look, it's a W. Look, it's an M. And that's why we wait for things like the breakout. That confirms the M. That confirms the W, right? This is anyone's guess. Don't get caught trying to call the exit on that shit. So we are in a bit of that chop right here, but the latest confirmation in my mind is a loss. Actually, it's not even a maybe. It's definitely just a loss of these lows. So careful longing sand right now. And that's versus Bitcoin. And I think we're going to see a lot of this because Bitcoin is rallying. ETH Bitcoin is not following along just yet. Dominance is rising. And that's, look, you got AION versus Bitcoin dumping. You got sand versus Bitcoin dumping. It's kind of an algorithmic market-wide dump right now. I bet we could cycle through a lot of alts and see that. So just being careful there. I was looking at IOTX USDT on the daily, and it looks awesome. It's breaking up, but when I see that on the RSI and the weekly all red, it discourages me. I should change the red color. It messes with my psyche. Yeah, Tamea, that is an interesting point. A lot of people I notice use like white and black charts and candles, and I've thought about it too because it absolutely does play on your emotions. When you see red, when you see green, do you need those colors? I love the look of the charts I use, and I like the flashy colors, and it kind of brands with our brand. But I've thought about that a lot too. And so changing things from big, bright, aggressive, emotional colors to more boring, kind of logical, rote, just black and white or blue and white or whatever. So that's a personal choice. I would be curious to see sort of your data. Like if you're like, hey, I've been trading for 2 years and these are my, this is my data. And then I switched my charts to less aggressive colors, black and white, and 2 years later, here's my data, or 2 months later, whatever, depending on your time frames. Like if you trade the weekly, you don't get a lot of data in 2 years. If you trade the 5-minute, you can have a ton of data in 2 weeks, right? So whatever your time frame, it'd be cool to track that data, because I imagine that these colors play havoc on you, and especially the less of a plan you have. So the more sort of freelance you are in the market, just firing off random things, the more that kind of shit will affect you. I don't think it affects me that much, but I haven't tested it, so I don't know. Let's take a look. Yeah, XMR. Okay, I'm going to pull up XMR now. I'm going to front line it. Then we're going to go back and hit up RSR, Fill, and CHONK. And we're coming up to about an hour and 40 minutes. I think we may start to wrap, probably cap around 2 hours as a top. So I can sort of rest my voice a little bit and recharge. And we're going to go live and do some gaming this week. I hope you guys are into that. Jonesy was actually, he's in here in the chat with us. He was on with us playing late night stream. Yeah, there he is, Jonesy. So look, we are going to, I'm going to jump on that. We set it up last week. We kind of stress tested the whole thing. My rig was able to handle it for 5 hours. And, so we're just live on there. Producer jumps in. We get in there. We play some Call of Duty and live trade. Yeah, live trade. That's where this trade came. So we were discussing on stream swap, and it was like, oh, we're going to chart it. It looks like it's breaking down. This is where we're going to think, where I'm thinking about getting longs. There's a paper trade, but I actually ended up going and trading it myself a little later. But live on stream, technically, we're just doing paper trades. Some of them I might trade, some of them I might not. But yeah, I think personally, I'm excited about it. The idea of doing some live trading. So it's not just analysis, but we're actually like, let's actually make some money today. So at the end of the day, I can have more money than I had at the start, hopefully. And more importantly than can we make money or not, it's like, can I follow my plan? Can I behave the way in the market that I said I would? That's the focus. The rest will come. Focusing on the money is the greatest way to make less of it. So we'll be doing that later this week. I don't know what day, maybe Thursday? Possibly tomorrow. I think tomorrow I'm going to work on that trend video. Maybe we can do both. We'll see. Okay. Rapid fire some alts. I'm feeling really ranty today, rambly. So I got to be careful. Got to watch myself. RSR. Okay. The daily on Binance. We probably can do better. Oh, this thing's been listed on Huobi. Yeah, there's my ink. Okay, so this thing's been listed on Huobi for a while. Now, nobody wanted to talk to me when I showed up at the RSR party in the summer and said, this thing's going down. They all said, get out. This party's not for haters. And I'm not a hater. I still have an old free bag of this from, some I bought down here somewhere stupid. I think it was like 30 sats back. This isn't even, 30 sats. Yeah, 21, 30. Yeah, 30's up here somewhere. Anyways, old free bag. And look, we're right back down into a buy zone that apparently I drew up a month ago. Again, I haven't been on this template in so long because alt season kind of ended. So I was like, well, fuck it. Go chart my futures. So as you can see, we're back down in this area where it was probably up around this top. You can see it here. The MACD was rolling over. I mean, clear signal. So internally, this thing looked weak. The MACD was basically ready to flip bearish. The price was still making new highs. What a treat. The market doesn't always give you a signal that it's about to pull the rug. But if you learn to spot these, that's exactly what it is. It's like, hey, I'm going to rug pull you tomorrow. No, you're not. Like, listen to the market, goddammit. That's why these tools exist. Doesn't always happen that way, but we were up in a big fib extension. So I'm already thinking about taking profit. I'm already thinking about shorting. Then I get the MACD bearish divergence. Oh, look at that. The RSR bearish divergence crosses down right here, crossed over the midline. It's actually just a Bollinger Band midline that I layered on that. Shout out to Sjord at TRI for giving me that idea. And so once we crossed that midline on bearish divergence, did we have rising volume or declining volume? Look at that. We had declining volume. So I do distinctly recall being told that I was wrong when I was really bearish on RSI somewhere in August. And that's okay. They stayed long. I got the fuck out. And now we're down here. We are coming back into this reload zone. We've printed a little W. Let's zoom in and take a peek at it. Yeah, I don't know who it was. It was in a chat. They were like, "Oh, sorry, it's going to the moon." And I said, "Careful. There's bearish divergence all over." And they were just like, "You don't know what you're talking about. It's going to the moon." I just like, okay. It's not my job to change someone's mind, and I might have been wrong too. Who knows? But we're down here on this W. Got this little breakout, and we've come down for a retest. So again, cyclically, I think we need more time. But there is a setup here. Sweet spot tag off to the breakout. And this is not a support resistance line, so ignore that box. It was just more of a green general box for what to look for as far as location. And we came down to it. So yeah, now we're down here. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this is sort of the area on the chart in general where I'd be searching for longs. Back to that mini cycle rant earlier where I talked about this feels like 2018. I think part of why I was getting into that is because it feels like 2018 in that I spent a lot of 2018, as did many people, trying to call the bottom, trying to rush in, grab the first retrace off the first pump counter trend rally. And so you're like getting in, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm wrong. And you get stopped out and it makes new lows. And then, it's like, oh yeah, we're back. And then it's just like, okay. And then you buy that RLZ and then it, tries and then it fails again. And so the psychology here is like, I'm thinking, I don't want to rush in to try to, this bottom, like, again, it's not going to come in like, I don't think like a V bottom where I'm worried I'm going to miss it. Chances are washed out. And then when I lose all flavor for longing RSR, W breakout. And then I missed it, right? So preserving capital through the first or second little attempt at bottoming is sort of what I want to do based on what I learned through 2018. Because we did just get sort of a mini cycle, a bit of an accelerated one compared to 2017. And so using what happened following that cycle in 2017 and applying it to what I think may happen here, because again, this chart, all of this ink, all of these things, these cycles, they are just an expression of human behavior, group human behavior, mass human behavior. And that's not changed. That human behavior has not changed at all. It's the same physical impulses and instincts and actions that we're all taking. So I can then apply the behavior of the chart from 2018, 2019 in an accelerated way to the end of 2020. So I hope that makes sense to some of you or all of you, even better. So yeah, in that sense, I am taking it a little bit more cautiously here. I think there's a lot to be said for dollar cost averaging. It's basically been proven that it'll outperform the majority of traders if the market ends up being bullish, which we're all here because we assume it will be, and I still think it will be. So yeah, dollar cost averaging, but I mean, even these daily MAs haven't crossed bullish yet. So I imagine there is just some more of this kind of shit. And when that gets tightened and up against resistance and breaks out, I'll be there to buy that first dip. It's going to be great because I really like RSR. I say rapid fire, but there's no such thing. I'm too long-winded. Too many things flowing through my brain. Let's take a look at Phil. We got to go down to like a 5-minute for Filecoin. No, that's a little too micro. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it's trying to bottom. I mean, so, it came out. I should probably chart it on X. Except for it's not there. I think it's called PERP. Which is. Because this thing, I remember because Nick was trading this basically on launch right here. It's kind of sick. He was on like the 1 minute. It was like the minute it launched. He was trading it. And I'm going to toot his horn because I believe you did pretty well with it. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Yeah, it ran up to like $80. It's crazy. So I was watching it live, $78. So, I mean, this was like all I remember about the fill chart because I was only staring at it on the 1 minute right after it launched last week. Super overvalued. I don't care who you are. There's just no way this thing's like $80 billion fully diluted. And I don't know what it is right now. Actually, we could just take a look. At one point, it was like some absurd amount. Fully diluted market cap is still $66 billion. Careful building a long-term long position right now on this one. That is my non-financial advice. Be careful. It is a $500 million market cap. It is a very big project, very hyped, probably very strong, probably going to be around for quite a while. Lower risk in the sense of like rug pulls. Don't think that'll happen. Can pretty much say with certainty. In the short term, that won't happen. But, $66 billion fully diluted. We'd have to look more into what that inflation looks like. Maybe it's fully diluted over the next 7,000 years, in which case 500 billion or 500 million is not so bad. But my guess is this thing comes off big time. Something a lot more reasonable. So, but can I trade it? I'm not here to invest. I'm here to trade. Okay, well, what does a trade look like? Actually, I see one. See the low, draw it up to the high. I'm not going to include this 1 minute weirdness. I could probably still get some fib play off it. Yeah, maybe I should. I don't know. Sweet spot tag, 618 resistance, stop to the 76. I mean, this one's getting respect as well as it would because that is a wick. But I might be more inclined to live off these candle body highs. And then you're getting some play too. 618, 702, 786. It's kind of sick. It just works both ways. But for this case, I like this one more. Just because it's a stronger move here. This thing was weird, wick. Not on any other charts. So we slide in here on bullish divergence, which you can see here on the MACD, making higher lows as price got lower. So the momentum of this move is slowing. That's what you want to see if you're thinking about longing it. W, trying to break out. If the line was straight, you would see that it hasn't quite. Oh, it's trying to break out like today. Oh, actually this hour. It's an hourly. So, and then where do I want to target? This actually does look like a decent setup. All other rants considered, this looks like a decent setup. I'd have to risk 11% because if it breaks below these lows, that's when I decide, okay, I was wrong. I'm getting the hell out. I'm going to save the rest of my money. Not risking any more on this idea. It's been invalidated. And we would want to maybe go up to this. I might consider longing this up to the market fail level. And I'll tell you right now, that's probably in the short reload zone, which is where I would want to target anyways. Confluence. Yeah, that's actually a really sweet spot to consider getting out of this trade if I was in it. So look at that. VPVR value high. Fill in this kind of thing so that we end up with a more parabola type range. Wow. I actually really like this trade. Now, because of what I'm seeing in the market, I'll have to do this offline. I find it hard to focus sometimes when I'm live. But yeah, I think there's a trade here for sure. I think we've got bullish market structure trying to form. I would probably, wait and get that breakout and then see what kind of retrace I could get, even if it's just a retest of this level. So it's like right here. Because at this point, at least I need to see this hourly close above blue. I need that. That's in 10 minutes. Maybe we'll be live. Who knows? So let's see. Okay, fuck it. Let's see. Before we close today, I'll go for at least 10 more minutes. And we're going to come back and see. Because if this does close above, that's a pretty sweet signal for, just another trade. One more trade. On Phil. Old Phil. Pay the bill, Phil from the mill. And we'll see if we can get long on paper. Because I'm not live trading today. And that would be a pretty sick trade. I could see it. But it could also just do this. Whoop, right? And just retest this level here. And we're just trending down. And that's why these things are 50%, 40, 50, 60% hit rate. They're not perfect, but that's definitely a target I'd look for if I was in this trade. All right, let's take a quick drink of water and fire off a few more coins. CHONK. CHONK just sounds dirty. I don't know what that means. Does anyone know what CHONK means? It sounds dirty. Look it up. I'm gonna do it. Let's do it. Okay. Yes, I recognize this chart. We talked about this last week, did we not? Whoever asked about this, maybe you were on and we talked about it and you asked about it before. Chonky fat cats and NFTs. Okay. Chonker is usually someone fat. Okay. All right. So we've got a mean coin. Means fat chonker cat. Okay. So I think I remember that because somebody asked me about this coin and like, are you buying? And then I Googled it to learn a little more, maybe find their team website, whatever. And like the first hit on Google was Urban Dictionary. And I thought that's a bit of a red flag. Anytime I Google a project and it's an Urban Dictionary slang term. So more of an LOL, like I thought that was funny. But yeah, this thing, it's got some writing on the walls here as far as the good old market cyclical kind of stuff. So are we in pump chaser type of market? Not really, in the sense that like things aren't rip rally and rip roaring market right now. We're in a bit more of an RLZ type market. And so for those of you who can't see already, that is the pump chaser zone. That's our 382.5. Chart X sucks. It doesn't save templates, at least not yet. It doesn't suck. I use it, so I like it. Sorry, guys. But like, it sucks that I can't save my fib templates. And I'm so tired of resetting them every time I open up a new page. So bear with me here. 382.5. This is the pump chaser zone. I don't think we're in a pump chaser type market. I think in general, my high time frame thinking is that we're in more of an RLZ type thing like we just talked about. So that means chonker for me to get interested. This is not a prediction of where it will go. Unless it plays out, in which case I totally called it. Just kidding. JK. But this is sort of me getting interested down in here. And again, that's the nice thing about being a trader and not really caring about any one asset. I don't need to be like, oh, I got to grab it just in case it doesn't come down. I just go find the ones that are down here and only trade the things that are absolutely looking high probability upside. This thing looks like it needs to cool down. Even if like you're an Elliott wave trader, I'm not. So if I butcher Elliott waves and you know what it is, just be aware that I did that. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. There's your cycle. So I do see a bit of that's all I know about Elliott waves. The idea of like, 3 up wave type patterns and then the corrective A, B, C. And I know just enough to kind of spot that on the charts and add it to my reasoning. And in this case, it does look like it had a little cycle here, kind of peaked with a bit of a blow off top on volume as well. And now we're rolling over and trending down. So I wouldn't be in a rush to buy Chonky personally. But, like any other coin, if it gets down into that RLZ, shows some bearish divergence, some buyers stepping in, the W breakout like we talk about day in and day out, it's there. A little bit mean to the fat cats, the chonks, but NFTs are dope for chonker. Okay. So is it an NFT thing? Because in that case, I am generally interested. I am building a basket of NFT related tokens, not blindly. Like I want good NFT projects. I think there's going to be a bunch of meme ones that are just fun and then they die. But like NFT protocol, Rareable, I have some. I don't know, is that the blue Kirby one? I don't know. I haven't been following the fundamentals. Small Love Potion, SLP. I've got a few of those. Meme Coin is another one that I don't have, but I kind of was like, shit, I kind of want some. Probably just because it went way up in price. And then I wish I had some. Yeah, because somebody was on our stream right here. It was like 4 Mondays ago, and I was doing like a big thing on NFTs. And then I was like, anyone has any NFT tickers, they should tell me. And on the rewatch later, I saw this guy had mentioned meme and I didn't friggin' chart it. And like 3 hours after stream, it shot up like 100%. And I was like, oh man, we missed that. Little did I know, we hadn't missed it yet. Oh, so that's a fun one. Shout out to that guy. I forget his name, but he's not around today. I haven't seen him. But he called meme on the stream and I missed it. And it was right here. It was uncanny. It was like the day before the big NFT breakout. Craziness. Continuous tick channels just released fishing for NFTs. These look way better than a meme. Just released fishing for NFTs. Yeah. They've continuous. Okay. Well, hey, BitMammoth, you've sold me on Chonker. I'm gonna go, you've sold me on going to look more into Chonker. So I'm gonna make sure I do that because yeah, rope is legit. Okay. I keep hearing about rope and that I'm not supposed to buy it. So riddle me that. I can't even chart it. What a scam. Let's take a look at rope. Don't buy rope. That's what I keep hearing. That's all I know about it. Yeah, wow. Actually, where can I chart this? That actually looks like right in my RLZ. Rope is legit the best NFT project in the space, says Genealogy, who I like. Uniswap V2. So what? Why is it not on why is it not here? Sad face. Epic sad face. Okay, well, if you guys figure out where I can chart rope a little bit more in depth, I can tell you looking at this that it's basically just in the RLZ. So okay. Okay. You know what? That's it. I'm going to write it down. I'm writing down rope. I'm writing down chonk because I am bullish on NFTs. And I think what we saw recently was just like a nice little test pump. So again, throwing like 0.25%, 0.1% of capital into these things and just no stop loss, not a trade, just DCAing. That's sort of what I would consider for these for myself, given what I told you all today on the high timeframes. Do Link. All right, let's do Link. Love Link. And we have 2 minutes until we decide if Filecoin is going to fire this long setup. Link. Altcoin analysis. Sounds about right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay, remind me to come back to fill perp on this one. I have ink on this, so... Boom. Yeah. Yeah. So you can see I've been kind of setting up a lower time frame trade stuff on Link. Long, short. Haven't been trading it, just been sort of doing analysis because a lot of people like to ask about this one. Yeah. I mean, it looks more bullish than most altcoins, as you would expect from Link. Came back down, front ran this level, squeezed back up, front ran the bearish retest. Came back down, front ran the sweet spot, like just a lot of front running, a lot of aggressive buying and selling on this, not letting it get to any of the levels that perhaps it should be getting to. So lots of activity on Link. I don't really know what to say about it offhand. I guess at this point, I don't think, like we talked about with all the cycles, I just don't see it being done yet. I think if there is a coin out there that could just supersede your typical full cycle, it's probably Link, because from what I hear, it's getting a ton of use. And another example of that would be like BNB. During the bear market in 2018, 2019, you guys may have realized by now that BNB did not come down and drop 96, 97, 98% like everything else, because it had real use. It was not just some random speculative asset with absolutely no value. It had value to traders who wanted 50% off of their trade fees, or whatever the amount is now. I think it's still 50. And it also then, they've been developing more uses, and there's the burns. And then, so you have that demand with a baked in feature that takes away supply. I think they burned $68 million worth just the other day for their quarterly burns. So yeah, BNB kind of escaped the full cycle. Is Link going to escape this one? Possibly. Certainly looks a lot healthier than the rest of them. I would be interested in buying if we got back down into this area. That's like the area for now that I see as like buy zone. If trying to trade it a little more aggressively, thinking about getting up into that original RLZ. So like for a full new cycle, I probably wouldn't be buying here. But as far as like, okay, where's my next long? And then maybe I can trade it up as high as into here. Who knows what that'll play out like, but that's sort of a smaller term thing. For now, it's tricky. Okay. God, guys, I think, yeah, getting near the end of the stream as my brain feels a little fried all of a sudden. Been going hard for about 2 hours here, but look here. Bullish market structure. Breakout. So yeah, I think we've already confirmed that on the daily. Came in. So yeah, I think the long fired on Link. Now that I look at it, and so I probably wouldn't chase this high, but I like down in this reload zone. And you can see here, sometimes when you're not sure where price is going to go, and you're not sure, is the cycle complete? Are we done with this range? All that stuff. I think it's important to look at the VPVR and give you some vertical sort of ideas. And as you can see here, it went up really fast. Probably has some filling in to do. If I was going to call a generational bottom on Link, I would probably be looking to this kind of level. And that's like $4, man. What are you, crazy, RT? Shit's not going down there. Hope not, but it might. That's first USDT though. I might look more at the BTC chart, but yeah, for now, let's focus on one level at a time. And I think a long did just fire as far as confirming this bullish market structure. And so any pullbacks here are for buying until I lose these lows, and then I'm getting the fuck out. It's my quick take. CHONK is sub 1 mil market cap. Yeah, I could imagine that. Correct. Chart X. Search it with cash tag. Oh. Okay, so I'm on chart X. Ah, yes. Thanks, guys. Let's take a look at rope. Yep, it's in the RLZ. Don't need a fib to tell me that, but let's see exactly what level it's at. Because I start all my charts with this good old reliable fib. And that's pretty much, for this one, I'll have to create it. 702. 76. Okay, hell, we'll just do it. Getting faster at it now because for chart X, I have to do it like every other day. And one more. Green, teal, blue. To the right. Wow, record time. Okay. Yeah, we're basically right at the sweet spot. I mean, this now, I'm thinking, oh, cool. Rope is in an area where I'm interested. So I'd have to go look up the project, find out if I think that there is a reason in the future why a whole wave of people is going to speculate on rope. What are the tokenomics like? Are there token burns? Is there staking? All of those things are things I want to know before I go and get into this. Because like I said, it probably wouldn't be like a quick and dirty long trade, even though there probably is one in here as far as just playing this range, where it could be like something like that, even if we hadn't bottom yet, whatever it is. I would just want to add this to my NFT basket if I end up liking it. So I am going to write it down. I got rope, I got chunk. I'm going to write those down, take a look. May or may not add them to my basket based on what I find. But this one is definitely in a sweet location and kind of just like consolidating. So despite the ugly lines there, rope actually looks pretty good. Now we must be getting up around the 2 hour mark. Holy crap, Batman, it's 2 hours in. We got to cycle back. I'm a whole. Yes. All right, gonna fly back camera here, guys. We are running super late today on the stream, and that's okay with me. Had a good day. So I hope you guys got some value out of this. We actually have a website, www.hxro.labs, hxrolabs.io, and where we are housing all of our content. Are we back on the set? For some reason I'm still seeing the intro screen. We're good. It's behind me. Oh, okay. All right, good. Well, we got the website here. It's HeroLabs.io. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out. You can sign up for the weekly at the bottom. All the new issues of the weekly will be posted there, as well as our latest YouTube stuff, our Twitter. It's just sort of our in-house, all-in-one, where you can find all our content in one place. For those of you who are interested in that. And so, of course, if you have any ideas of things like, hey, well, I want to see this on the website, I want to see that, hit us up with that as well. It is in development, even though it is live. We're adding things every day. So check it out. It's in the chat there. And that green screen. Yeah, I'm seeing the green screen too. The heck, man. Oh, okay. All right, guys. Have a wonderful night, everybody. And whatever you do in the market this week, make sure, please, always play from a position of strength. Take care.